News that makes you money. The WBBM Noon Business Hour continues.
It's Technology Thursday. The ruling that allowed the proposed merger of AT&T and Time Warner opens up huge possibilities about content distribution, including another potential mega deal that's in the works. Let's look at the Disney-Comcast bidding war for 21st Century Fox and other possibilities with Tim Hanlon, who is the founder and CEO of the Vertere Group based in Chicago. Tim, welcome back to the program. First off, let's clarify this bidding war for Disney, Comcast, and 21st Century Fox. Whoever lands 21st Century Fox, what do they get once the money changes hands and the keys and the email passwords?
Yeah, Rob, the assets we're talking about are the 20th Century Fox film and TV studios, which is obviously a very content-rich treasure trove. It's also, though, and interestingly, and you're going to get some interesting other bits here, about 24 regional sports networks. So in New York, for example, the Yes Network, a bunch of cable networks like FX and FXX, the channels from the Fox studio family, plus also a 30% ownership stake in the streaming service Hulu. But even more interestingly, there's some international assets, and I actually think that these are some of the more intriguing strategic pieces that both Disney and I think even more so Comcast covet. And those are significant ownership stakes in a pay television operator in Europe called Sky, and the most greenfield of all of them, Star, which is the largest television provider in India, which is a place that neither company has much exposure into.
So this seems like cable companies, Time Warner, for example, Comcast being another, looking for a future in the cord-cutting world.
Yeah, I mean, I think the original deal sort of was framed, I guess, from a Disney-Fox perspective, more as a sort of combination of powerhouse content assets. But when you dig under the surface, the reality is that, and we sort of alluded to this over the last couple of days on the show, is this sort of intertwine, shall we say, between content and distribution assets, right? And it's clear that in this deal, the 21st Century Fox assets that are up for grabs, there are interesting distribution elements here in this conversation, not just content.
And so this will create other possible mergers. What are some of them?
Well, I think anybody who's in the content space, I mean, the Discovery Networks, a CBS with or without Viacom, if that sort of comes back together, you look at Verizon, which is probably the biggest, shall we call them naked or content devoid operation in terms of content distribution and pipes. There's a whole bunch of sort of deck chairs that are getting ready to start shuffling, shall we say.
And how does that affect me sitting there watching my TV?
Well, Chris, come on. How does it affect you? The ability to watch television and great shows and all that kind of stuff is certainly probably on the upside, the ease by which to find those shows. But it still remains to be seen whether all this consolidation will allow you to actually access that stuff more cheaply or more expensively. All remains to be seen.
Here's another question. How does this affect me, part two, as a content creator?
Me too.
On a traditional broadcast service that utilizes a tower. Where does local TV and local radio wind up in all of these mega mergers? Because there are some TV station groups that get caught up in this as well.
Yeah, there's no doubt, Rob. Good question. I mean, the idea of broadcast television, broadcast radio, those two are morphing. There are other deals that we've talked about in the past and will again in the future, whether it's Sinclair Tribune, et cetera. Let's put it this way. I think broadcasting is one part of a much bigger whirlpool of change and activity. Assets are going to be helpful and important, but to say that traditional broadcast television and radio are not going to come out unscathed, I think would be a little hard to say.
Well, thank you very much, Tim Hanlon, founder and CEO of the Vertere Group based in Chicago.